do go over the rules with the candidates. So we'll go over the rules real quick. This is James Crouse, Democrat, and Commissioner Robert Hodge, Republican. And I just want to go over the rules real quick. You'll each have 2 minutes for an opening remark and 2 minutes for closing. We're going to walk around the room like we did before with the microphone, and each citizen will ask a question. 30 seconds. You'll have 30 seconds. Citizen can direct it to one or both of you. You have up to 2 minutes to answer that question. If the citizen feels that they want to follow up on that same question, they can do that. They will have another 30 seconds to follow up, and you will have 1 minute to follow up on that with an answer. Okay? Marius is right. All right. So if you want, we'll get started. You want to start with a 2 minute opening statement, and we'll go to Robert Hodge?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Good evening. I am Jim Crouse, a candidate in the 5th District for the office of County Councilman. I'm currently employed with MBRS Financial Bank, Elkton Branch, for the past 8 years. Previously, I worked for Union Hospital from 1973 to 2005 in various management positions. I'm a graduate of Elkton High School, class of 1963. Yes, we're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And from LaSalle University in 1987 with a bachelor's degree in business management. Experience is what I bring to this race. In my personal professional career and more than 26 years serving in government, including a short term in the Maryland General Assembly. I am a results-oriented individual, and I am fiscally responsible to all people I serve. Experience does count. I am extremely well prepared and willing to understand and govern using the charter form of government. I have a strong passion to represent all people, listen to concerns, and work together to solve the issues. Experience counts. As mayor of Elkton, I led the efforts to bring industries like W.L. Gore and Terumo Medical and the businesses and companies within this business park where we sit this evening. We must work to sustain what we have and recruit more industries so our citizens will have jobs. We must continue to provide a high level of learning through the Cecil County Public School System, which will hopefully soon include a larger technical school. Without question, we must support the growth of our own Cecil College. I will bring skills and leadership to the county with the resources I have gained through serving in government. And now I wish to use them to serve you, the people of Cecil County. We cannot continue to talk about what we need to do. We need to do it. It is time to start accomplishing goals identified in the strategic plan. Discussion and debate of all topics are very important, but results will advance our county more efficiently and effectively. Remember, experience counts.
Good evening. I'm Robert Hodge. I am currently serving as your county commissioner. 4 years ago, when I was elected, I was a little naive about what the job was all about and what I could do for you. I've worked very hard, and there's more to do. And I would like to be reelected as your county councilman from the 5th District. I also have a lot of experience. I have experience as a business owner, I have experience as a farmer, and I have experience as a county commissioner. I've been in the trenches working for you for the last 4 years. I think that I have contributed a great deal to the success of this county, even though I have to say that the government moves very slowly. As a business owner, I have total control of my business and I can make decisions and implement them immediately. Not so much with county government. But I'm not going to give up. I want to continue to work for you and serve you. I think that I've contributed a great deal to keep the tax spiral from slowing down, and actually voted and implemented tax increases that, as far as I know, has not happened in decades. I know that your tax bills have seemed to go up, but I think you'll see your bills slowly creeping down. My goal is to continue to run the most efficient and productive government that we can have, provide the essential services that we provide as a government, including education. I think that education is important. for the success of future Cecil County. And I also support moving forward with a new technical school. And I think this is going to be a big deal for Cecil County, and I hope that you understand where we need to go with our education of our children. So I'm here tonight to answer your questions and to convince you that I have the right stuff and the experience to be a good councilman for the future of Cecil County. Thank you.
Why don't we start on this side this time? You be over here. You have a question? Harold?
Harold Mechanic, 694 Kennytown Road. Currently, we have a county commissioner panel that is dysfunctional, in my opinion. An alliance has been formed in a majority and has governed against the will of the people. How do you plan on correcting this special interest agenda-driven problem? That's for Mr. Crouse, please, because poor Mr. Hodge is already dealing with it.
Commissioner Hodge was very generous while we were waiting our time to come to talk with you all. He invited me up to his office, and we had a chance to chat, as we always do when we see each other. We aren't in adversarial roles, and we've said that from the beginning when we decided, or I decided to get in the race, and I talked with Commissioner Hodge, and we're here to, or I'm here because I want to represent the people of Cecil County. There's no question there is dysfunctional meetings that go on in this building, maybe in more than one place. One of the specialties I think that I bring to this job would be the opportunity to potentially serve possibly in a leadership position as president of the council. I have run meetings for over 20 years. I have had parliamentary procedure training. And frankly, you don't blurt out and you don't get into controversy with the audience ever. That's not appropriate. If the audience has an opinion, they really should carry it to the individual's office if it's with somebody personally. But they really should try to work individually with a particular commissioner or commissioners who they have an issue with. I really think it's leadership, and we need to also learn to hug each other. And maybe that should be a priority upon swearing in. You know, recently it was published about $500,000 was going to be budgeted to renovate the room. Well, I'm opposed to that. I think we should tear down all the walls on the second floor, and we should go to the firehouse and borrow 6 tables, and you put them together and you bring up the oldest chairs you got in this building that are hard and uncomfortable, and you get everybody in the room to sit down, i.e. the elected officials, around this table, and they're going to have to learn how to speak to each other appropriately and work for the betterment of the people of Cecil County and not for any personal goal or interest.
The follow-up question, the question is, how would you go about doing this, being, given the stubborn record of who we're referring to?
If I have the gavel as the president of the council, I will bang the gavel, and under rules of order, if the person doesn't respect that, then they're removed for that particular meeting.
My name is Jeff Spangler, 318 Roland Drive, Portsmouth. I will pose the same question I posed to the previous candidates, and it's about the possible role of professional paramedics to fill the role of volunteer companies that aren't able to respond to ambulance calls because their members are at work. So this is during the afternoon. So I'd like each of you to tell me where you come down on that concept, if you support it. If you don't, why not?
I'll start on that because I know that that's been presented to the commissioners already. This is a problem that many communities face where there's a lack of volunteers at the firehouses. It's a tough job to be a volunteer at a firehouse and respond at all hours for important and sometimes very frivolous complaints. Unfortunately, some citizens use the fire company ambulance service as a taxi service. At the end of the result, I personally believe strongly that we, the county, need to do a study of what other communities have done in the United States. There's no doubt in my mind that Cecil County is not unique in the fact that we have a shortage of volunteers to staff our ambulances. I would love to find out where and how other communities have solved this problem. For us to try to reinvent the wheel all by ourselves and take action without studying the pitfalls and the benefits of what other communities have done before us, I think is a mistake. And I know that there's lots of ideas on the table, but I really believe that we should have a study done so that we can figure out the best result.
You know, to say I support or don't support, I'd have to see numbers. I was involved with the public hearing with the budget. I know it was on the agenda, and you know, I also appreciate and understand that there are a lack of volunteers, and I believe there was a volunteer day held this year by an agency, maybe it was the county. If they do, I salute that for you. Let me just tell you another little side though of the issue. Is in my role at Union Hospital, I was Vice President of Support Services, and one of the jobs I had to deal with was giving oxygen for the ambulance companies, making sure it was available and things of that nature. I'm going to try to make this real short. One of my biggest problems that I had was because of these taxi services that ambulance companies ended up providing. In many, many cases, a number of cases, I'm talking about a large percentage, we would have to find them a cab ride home because they wanted the ambulance to take them back home. It's not a simple problem out here. Just going to professionals isn't necessarily the quickest answer. Well, it might be the quickest answer, but it also might be creating a problem because then we might have one of the biggest taxi systems in all the state of Maryland through the paramedics, and that would be not using your time wisely. You know, I would support, because sooner or later, folks, we're going to have a full-time paramedics and so forth. I know some of the companies, I know Upton has, I call them sleepovers or whatever. They employ some, I believe, on their own. I think Northeast maybe does, you know, but there's a few companies who do. I understand it's tougher, though, on the smaller companies like Fort Deposit down in Cecilton and things of that nature. And it's an issue that this county's got to address, just as we did or just as the county has done with the Sheriff's Department of having adequate deputies to cover the the territory.
I'll follow up on the same topic then. So each of you have mentioned that there is a problem currently where people will call an ambulance for things that are non-emergency. So how do you propose to solve that? Are you in favor of imposing some sort of fee or penalty for a frivolous call? Or so I want to know what your solution would be for those cases.
If I gave you a solution tonight, I could be elected President of the United States. I'd be nominated at the convention tonight. I mean, it's not an easy situation to solve. And it would really take more input and guidance from folks like you as to, okay, how many times is it, you have to keep some statistics. How many times do you do the roundabout turn? You know, or where you I think, under your insurances, can't take them home, so there has to be another means of transportation provided. Or they tie up a gurney in the hospital when you have somebody come in cardiac arrest who can't even get into a room to get treated. There's a lot of problems that are addressed. It's not just adding full-time paramedics throughout the county. It's the whole process. You know, people think right away, well, you can bill the insurance company. That man in the red shirt I worked with, right in front of you, I worked with Union Hospital, and asked him how many insurance companies would pay their bill, for ambulance transportation on that topic. So it really has to be a collaborative work with all parties.
My answer is that all options are on the table, and I will consider any option, but only after we do a thorough analysis. I think it's very imprudent for me to just go with paid service, paid employees, paid staff, buy the equipment without making sure that we've evaluated all other options before we spend multi-million dollars in growing government. So fact is that it's a big deal that needs serious evaluation and analysis before making a final choice.
Okay, I just want to mention too, this is being videotaped, so it will be available within the next couple of days on Cecil County Patriots.com website, all right?
Hi, Wallace, Perryville, Maryland. I just have a question that's probably not the most popular thing to ask, but 5 days ago we lost the service of the SPCA, and I know that's been an emotional topic, and trying to keep emotion out of it. We still have the problem of what do we do for animal control. How would both of you address the current problem we have with the animal control issue?
I'll start. There's no doubt that the current county commissioners, in my opinion, screwed up. We passed an ordinance that was unenforceable, impractical, and had way too much government intrusion in it. It was an ordinance of 32 pages, more or less. We could have done the entire animal control ordinance in about 4 to 6 pages. The point was that we wanted to prevent abuse and neglect of animals. We didn't have to go into trying to penalize the current animal care and control provider. The fact is that we didn't have a backup plan. We didn't have a plan B. We just put the screws to the current provider. They got pissed and walked away. The current county commissioners should have thought through this a little bit better. I guess they're hoping and praying that the RFP that they put out and that will be opened up on September 14th or 15th, we'll be opening the RFPs on the 15th. They're hoping that some miracle is going to happen and there's going to be a new provider that's going to step up to the plate. I have no idea what's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. In the interim, the animals aren't getting well served at all. If we're worried about protecting the animals, we're not doing a good job of it right now.
Well, I certainly support the SPCA. I mean, to me, they've done a tremendous job in this county, basically as a volunteer agency for many, many years. Now, that doesn't mean there's not another, provider of services who couldn't fulfill that service. The need, though, to take care of the animals in this county, especially those who run stray and need to be, picked up and maybe found homes with for children and or old people like me, it should be available, and the SPCA has done a good job at that. The ordinance is quite lengthy. It is was probably going to be very hard to enforce, and I believe there has to be a rethinking and a redraft, and if anything, needs to be analyzed to provide an improved and better service to the people of Cecil County. I believe that ordinance needs to be reanalyzed, and then I would hope that the SPCA would come back and be a bidder of services to the county. They've done a good job, and there's a lot of folks who used to volunteer and serve, and I think still do. And I hope that this issue can get resolved. Though, one thing I'm not interested in seeing it become a department of the county. I think it should be an outsourced role. Let's face reality. When there's a technique. Maybe Dr. McCarthy could explain to us the technique of handling animals. I know when I go out and try to comfort one, I usually get bitten by a dog, scratched by a cat. So I obviously don't have the technique.
I have a question for Commissioner Hodge on the PCA animal control organization. When it came to a vote, what was your position?
I voted against the Animal Care and Control Act, Act 209. I thought it was way too intrusive. I thought there was way too many fines, penalties, licenses, fees. It was just way too much. And too much to enforce, too much to regulate, too much to ask citizens to be involved in. And let me say, the SPCA may be doing a good job, but there's certainly some room for improvement in the SPCA. I don't want to imply that the SPCA is the best organization that ever was around town. They could use some room for improvement, just as well as the county commissioners and every other organization that's here. Let's make it perfectly clear that there's room for improvement on every agency and every department in this county. And if they all could do better.
Brian Shire, Calvert, Maryland. Spent a lot of talk about infrastructure, and particularly up on the Route 40 area. And what I'd like to hear tonight is both candidates, your views on infrastructure as it's developed so far. Where do you think it should go? And then the third big question is how do we get it paved? Because obviously with tight budget constraints, that's going to be an issue.
Well, sorry. Okay. I'm a proponent to get this infrastructure put in ASAP. I want to see it run from the Delaware line to the Susquehanna River. I'd rather see the water come out of the Susquehanna River than bought from somebody. But that was the views of back when Commissioner Sumter was president of the commission. And you know, there was pretty good plans in place. I mean, it was like they're putting guardrails down the middle of Route 40. Well, they should have put the water and sewer lines and the gas down into that first. So don't hit those guardrails, for God's sake, because if you hit them, you're going to tear the devil out of your car. I don't know. Hopefully, you won't hurt yourself. But you know, it is a safety issue. The infrastructure is vital to the success of this county for just the people living in this county today. What if you are on a well and septic system? You don't have alternatives if all of a sudden the ground underneath of you can't absorb. We've got to do something to be prepared for the future, for the existing people who live here, and if we're going to have any growth, which will ultimately, if we can broaden our tax base, you can lower your taxes greatly. You know, but we've got to have infrastructure in place. You can't keep letting septic systems drain down into aquifers. Now, I'm not a, I guess that would be a geologist. I'm obviously not knowledgeable enough to know what I'm not, but I know that there are people that can tell you how it should be done. And that's why you use outside sources, and that's why we also need to get moving. As I said in my opening remarks, we need to get results, and we need to see things come to fruition. They have to happen. You may not need it today, folks, but down the road, public water and sewer, gas is all going to be essential. I think gas is what's being installed now in various entities. To me, I see, just real quickly, and then I'll stop, but I see going down Route 40 and start building spurs off of Route 40 as the funds come. How it would be paid for would be obviously a fee to the property. When the property is sold, there'd be a fee. The town of Elkton is $15,000 hookup fee. We paid for all, well, they could have paid for $40 million if they hadn't blown the money on other things. So the money was set aside.
Closest thing to a silver bullet to solve many of our problems in Cecil County is the infrastructure that we need in our growth area. There's no doubt about it. We need natural gas, water, sewage, and broadband up and down the Route 40 growth corridor. It was one of the motivations for me to become a county commissioner, because I could see that the previous board of commissioners weren't getting it done. And the fact is that I could see light at the end of the tunnel while I was a commissioner. And unfortunately, in the last 2 years, because of the change in administration, they sabotaged the plan that we had worked hard on, that we had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in defending it in court and trying to get the job done. And the current group of commissioners sabotaged it and put us backwards decades. It's very disappointed. I just can't tell you how depressed I was for weeks that they made this thing go away. I can tell you that Artesian has put in thousands of feet of water pipe in the ground already since they took over the water system from the county. Thousands of feet has been installed. County commissioners don't even have a plan to put 1 foot of pipe in the ground. We're going to take years planning on getting wastewater into Route 40. When we talked to Artesian a couple weeks ago, they said, we can't put water on Route 40 because there's no sewer. Who's going to want water on Route 40 if there's no way to get rid of the sewage? The county is going to be the holdup again. And I have to tell you that we're going to have to change the leadership of the county commissioners, which will happen in the next election. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed that we'll have a new leader. And we need to reevaluate the Artesian deal. We need to evaluate privatization of our wastewater. It's something that we should reconsider because they are willing to make that investment. I don't know how many millions of dollars that Chesapeake Utilities is putting in the ground for their natural gas. They're not asking the county taxpayers to pay for a dollar of any of that gas main. Artesian is not coming to the county to ask for any money to put in pipe for the water. Wastewater is going to be the dilemma here, and we need to get different leadership to make it more of a priority to get it done.
Todd Albert from 184 Castle Road. And this is directed at both the candidates. What can you do with regards to rules and regulations that are now in place in Cecil County and possibly going to become in place within the next year or two that are onerous to the businesses here and potential businesses that want to come in here in the future? Can we do something to get rid of some of these things, or what do you think about this?
It's my goal, and it has been my goal, if I had some impediments with some of the other commissioners, but I really want Cecil County to be the most business-friendly community on the East Coast. This is a world economy. Cecil County competes with Newcastle County in attracting and keeping employers and jobs here. I know that we also compete with Hartford County and other surrounding counties, and we all compete with Virginia, and we also compete with China and Mexico. The fact is that we need to have a change of attitude in Cecil County, and we need to make us the most friendly, unregulated, and I don't mean unsafe or environmentally unsound, but there's a lot of the rules that we have just don't make a lot of sense. Now, I have to admit that unfortunately, many of the rules and regulations that we implement are required by Maryland. State government tells us what to do. One of the things I found out as a business owner, as I said, I thought I could run the show and make things happen overnight. The fact is that there's so many rules and regulations that the state passes on to the counties, and you have to pass rules and regulations that impact businesses and families and everyone else. And we need to, and I'll be honest with you, we need to change the leadership in the State House. Very important. If you want change in Cecil County, some of it has to happen at the state level, because repeatedly, every time that the state legislature gets together in the winter, we have to pass more rules and regulations here at the county level.
Okay, I'm sorry, time's up. You didn't answer? I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. And then that's it. Sorry, Jim.
Mr. Ulrich, you know my answers to your questions, because we had the privilege of working together with the town of Elkton. You know, you got to get it done. One of the things that I really, when I first filed for this council seat, is I have some social friends and who work in various large companies in this community, and they're having some second thoughts about what they're going to do with their businesses. So I believe we've got to first visit with the existing people here that employ a lot of our citizens and see what we need to do to help make them happy. And if it means help them get some low interest money, you can float a bond at low interest, you can pass that rate on to them, but you don't do it for an extended period. There's not a 30-year mortgages and things like that. There's short-term funds that you can do by the act of legislation by the county to float a bond. The county has a tremendous bond rating and, you know, is able to do that. And I believe that before we reach out to too many new businesses and try to bring them here, we better find out how things stand with the existing large employers in this county. I really think it's essential that we start, you know, and the other things that I would want to do is I'd want to be holding some folks accountable as to why we're not getting some of these industries. Why do they go to Cecil County, or excuse me, Newcastle County, and why just this plant over here, I think Happy Grace or down on 40, a plant that could have come over here. It's 140, 200 people that I read in the paper is going to Hartford County. You know, what do we have to do to entice them to come across the bridge? And these are issues that I think we have to do. On a personal note, we got to speed up the process. I'm not going to, well, I won't get into that. That'll just be too long. But I just had a personal experience, and really, to build a 35 square foot deck, it took me 12 days to get my building permit. Now, that's a little crazy, folks.
All right, let's give him a hand. That's all the time we have right now.
2 minutes.
We each have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, I'm glad that you all came out. We need to have educated, informed voters. I'm afraid that the last election, we elected some of the wrong candidates. And this time around, we need to get it right.
Yeah.
We know that we're going to have different leadership in the county council in the future. Guaranteed to happen. I want to be there. I want to work for you. I think that I can do a lot to make things better. I want to keep your taxes low. I want to create jobs. I want to retain businesses that are here and help them grow bigger. I know that we have new people working at our economic development department. They're very motivated. They're very enthusiastic. I think that we can work together with the council, the executive, and the economic development department, and I see a lot of things that can happen in a positive direction with the right people. We have to collect, we have to elect the right elected officials to make the right decisions to move the county. And it's your job to check us out and find out who we are, what we can do, and get it right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being here this evening. I ask for your support to be elected to the First County Council for Cecil County. My experience and my qualifications make me a good selection for this job to serve all the people of Cecil County. As your councilman, you can expect fairness, fiscal accountability, and effective leadership of me. As your councilman, you will witness my desire to preserve our beautiful county's prized rural character and farms while providing adequate, affordable housing under the principle of reasonable and planned growth, protecting our citizens' property rights. As your councilman, I will reach out to our current industry and businesses to assure them of the support of the county to meet their needs and wishes to remain viable and operating here in Cecil County. I will also welcome clean industry and businesses that provide jobs for our citizens. As your councilman, I look forward to bring hope and progress for our county, state, and country through positive, not negative agendas. As your councilman, I am willing to work hard to resolve our problems by focusing on results. Rather than stressing our differences, we must learn to work together for the benefit of all people of Cecil County. That is our job. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to represent you, the people of Cecil County. Thank you very much.